Geliebtes Gut zu mir, die weiß is freilich, es kennt sein, die weiß ich hat gesagt. Ich bin verliebt mit dir und ich feel fein. Geliebte Socke, Herr zu mir, die weiß ich Socke, sei der mir, die weiß ich hat gesagt. Ich bin verliebt mit dir und ich feel fein.
Hello, welcome to our sneak preview of the 13th Annual Boulder Jewish Film Festival. I'm Kathryn Bernheimer, the founding director, and I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about our exciting films coming up, and tickets go on sale October 5th. They do sell out quickly, so I strongly advise trying to buy your tickets on Sunday. So let's get started. I hope you enjoyed our trailer, and I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about it. One of the fun things I get to do every year is figure out the music and what we're going to do with the trailer. And this year, because we are opening, our opening night film is Midas Man, which is about Brian Epstein, the fifth Beatle, the Jewish manager of the Beatles. And I wanted to use a Beatles song. Problem is, Beatles songs are all copyrighted, and that was not a possibility. We are also closing with Swedish Kite, which is about the discovery of Yiddish culture in Sweden. And I started thinking about what music we could play that might combine those two films. And I happened to discover a band in Chicago called Listen Up, who performed a Yiddish version of the Beatles song, I Feel Fine. And that's the music you heard in the trailer. The other reason I really like that particular piece of music is that it is so upbeat. And one of the things I really tried to do this year is to create a somewhat more upbeat festival than we might have had in years past, which I think everyone is in need of. And every year, I am looking for a balance of films that are enjoyable, entertaining, fun, lively, warm, happy experiences for the audience. I'm also obviously looking for well-crafted stories that are unusual and, a satisfying film experience. I think this year particularly we didn't need any films that are staring into the abyss. So I tried to avoid those this year as I was looking for my films. Also, I'm always looking for films that spark conversation because the talkbacks that we have after the festival, I think, are one of the things that distinguish our festival and make it such a wonderful festival experience. I love hearing from all of you and sharing your insights and having conversations around the films because they all speak to us in different ways. So, because of that, I also am looking for films that deal with important, serious themes and subjects that reflect the reality of the world we live in and reflect the concerns that we have at the moment in our Jewish community. Films that are pertinent to our life today. And that means films that speak to us in the moment. So it's a balance of enjoyable and entertaining, but also meaningful and relevant. I'm happy that we found a lot of films that bridge that gap. some of the themes or topics that I think are very relevant that we'll be dealing with in various films this year are the escalating violence against Jews, which is of obviously huge concern to the Jewish community. And Guns and Moses is a good example of a film that does that. Iran is very much in the news and on our mind, and Tatami is a great exploration of that. October 7th certainly still continues to resonate, and our need for healing from that is paramount. And I chose the film of Dogs and Men because I think it addresses that the best of any of the films I'd seen. Censorship is another issue, and Art Spiegelman is a great spokesperson for that issue. Gender equality is, of course, something that we're always concerned with, and both Midas Man and The Ring deal with that topic. Jews continue to live in the shadow of the Holocaust, and Riefenstahl, The Ring, Art Spiegelman, and The Plunderer all deal with that. But I did not want to have any Holocaust films that are set in the camps that feature the brutality. We've all seen that a lot. But I did want to show how the ripples of the Holocaust continue to be felt in the world today and how the lessons of the Holocaust are still relevant. So the Holocaust is not absent from our films, but it is certainly not front and center in the way the way some of the films we've shown in the past have done. The one thing I wanted to tell you that was really different this year for me and for the festival is that we have now a committee. It's called the Boulder Jewish Film Festival Advisory Committee. And if any of you are interested in serving next year, we'd love to hear from you. So shoot me an email at bjff, Boulder Jewish Film Festival, at boulderjcc.org if you're interested. That committee is charged with, among other things, selecting the centerpiece, the community centerpiece that we show midweek. And how our festival is structured is we have something special on opening, something special on closing, and our centerpiece is an opportunity to show something that is an audience favorite type film. The kind of film that audiences really respond to strongly, and it's picked by audience members like you who are on the committee. And it was a really wonderful experience for me. I think the committee members really enjoyed it. I feed them a number of films to pick from, and then we have very lively conversation, and that's fascinating to see what people like and what they don't like and what they respond to, and it's very, very valuable. It's just an effort for us to have a heightened attention to the audience needs and the audience reaction. And I usually have to wait till after I show a film to see what the audience thinks. Now I get an idea of what the audience thinks before I schedule it. So it was really a great experience. And this year, the committee was not limited to picking the centerpiece because I gave them things to pick from, and I said it doesn't mean you can only pick one. And in fact, 3 of our films are the result of the committee's comments. In other words, they persuaded me to show 3 of our films. And we're going to start now by showing you a trailer for our opening day film, Yaniv, which they persuaded me to open with.
Miss O'Donnell?
What?
I submitted my budget proposal for Little Shop of Horrors like 6 weeks ago, and I still haven't heard anything.
Oh, okay, well, that's because I denied it.
Wait, what?
Hey, she pulled the plug on Little Shop. I've been doing this for the last 5 years. Everyone loves it. It's a good thing, ultimately, right?
I'd like to introduce our long-term sub for English 10, Debbie Eichenberg.
Hi, I'm really excited to work here.
Hey, you need to see the nurse there, Bernstein, or?
I'm fine.
When your mother and your aunt were kids and I needed money, I just head down to Rego Park.
What were you doing, Zadie? Selling wigs?
No, I was playing Yaniv, just like we're playing today.
You gambled on Yaniv?
Yaniv is the blackjack of the Jewish people. It's not far where I used to go.
Hey, do you know anything about the Yaniv games that are here?
Are they here? Hey, what are you doing? Oh, who are you? Look, I'm trying to find a Yaniv game. Would you happen to know anything about that?
Now that's the answer I was looking for.
So 10% of whatever we win, I can keep.
I just need 10,000. Then I can do the show.
And you're gonna play with me?
Yeah. We just need to dress you up like you're from so that no one thinks we're together.
So if one of us loses, the other can still win.
Exactly. Automatic extra life.
Underground Yaniv? Oh my god, I want to go!
They're all men. They're Orthodox. You wouldn't make it past the door.
It's a Orthodox man eating a taco.
So I hope you can see that this is a very funny and enjoyable and lively film. We are really thrilled that the lead actor, who you saw, the high school teacher who tries to raise funds for his musical by playing Yaniv, will be with us. And he will not only be there for the talkback following our 2 screenings on Sunday, October 26th, but he will be leading us in the card game Yaniv. So between the noon screening and the 3:30 screening, we'll have a Yaniv card party in the lobby, and it's pretty easy game to learn, and you'll be able to play Yaniv either before the later screening or after the first screening. So we hope you'll join us for a really fun opening. What I want to point out about Yaniv is it's played at more than 60 festivals. This is the first feature for these 2 guys, the writer-actor who you saw on screen, and his partner, Amnon Karmi, who is the director. And they're old friends from the playground in Cleveland. And they started making short films together, and this is their first feature. It is a low-budget film. It is a first feature. It is, I don't want to use the word amateurish because I don't think that's quite right, but it is not a polished Hollywood-type film. And it's delightful, and it's become a surprise hit. And these 2 guys are over the moon that this first feature has gotten such a great response. So we're really happy. They've been doing this card party all over the country, and it's been a huge success. So we're really thrilled to offer that as our opening film and party on the 26th. It is a comedy. It is very specifically Jewish, the whole milieu, a lot of Jewish in-jokes, and set in a very recognizable New York Jewish neighborhood. So I think you're going to really enjoy Yaniv. We are closing with Swedischkeit, which is the other film that the committee really enjoyed. And it's an unusual film, too, because it is a comedy, but it is also a documentary. And documentaries aren't usually comedies. They can be uplifting, they can be warm, they can be inspiring, but they aren't usually comedies. And the reason this is a comedy is that Yid Life Crisis is a web series that's been going for 10 years now, where 2 comic performers from Canada do these sketches about, playing these characters that they've adopted and putting themselves into funny situations, and it became a very popular comedy series. And this is a feature film they made. They went to Sweden to perform, because that's one of the things they do, is they're a comedy duo, they perform. And when they were there, they were very, very surprised to find that there was a whole treasure trove of Yiddish culture, particularly. I mean, Yiddish is an official language in Sweden, who knew? And also Jewish connection. I mean, it's a tiny Jewish population, but it's very vibrant. So they bring their comic sensibility to this essentially travelogue or discovery. So it is both very informative. You learn a lot about Jewish culture in Sweden, but it is very funny and very entertaining. And it just so happens that there's a woman living in Boulder who is Swedish and Jewish and runs a bakery that uses Swedish bread recipes that are made gluten-free, Katarina Scher, and she will be with us for the talkback and sharing a little bit more about Jewish life in Sweden. And her bread will also be featured at our reception, which precedes the film at 5. The film's at 6:30. So from 5 to 6:30, we have a party called Smorgasbord, which will be playing ABBA music, and we'll be having Swedish food and vegetarian Swedish meatballs and all kinds of things. So we hope you'll join us for our closing night, Swedischkeit, a Yiddish sort of celebration. And then the third film that the committee really liked and decided to use as our community centerpiece, which is on the Wednesday night of the festival, is The Ring. And that's an Israeli film. And it is not exactly upbeat, and it is certainly not exactly a comedy. But the interesting thing is it's made by Adir Miller, who in Israel is a huge star and known for his comedy. He has been a kind of a comic genius in Israel and very, very beloved. And he made this film, which is based on his own family's Holocaust history. It's obviously embellished, but he used that as a springboard to tell this family drama story in which 3 generations find kind of healing and come together by exploring their Holocaust history. And as many of you are very aware, Israel was built on the ashes of the Holocaust, and it's very common for Israelis to have a Holocaust history, and younger generations coming to learn about that is part of the sort of the nation's history. So it combines some very serious themes with a very enjoyable, warm story. It's a very how should I put it? It's a commercial film in the sense that it has big stars in Israel. It was a big hit in Israel. So again, as I was saying earlier, it combines serious themes with a really heartwarming family drama. So it is uplifting in that way, and it does both the things that we're looking for in our films, which is have some really meat and meaning and substance, but also is very pleasurable and enjoyable and satisfying. So I think you'll like our committee selection of The Ring. The Ring leads me into a discussion of Israeli films, because The Ring is one of 5 Israeli films. We have 15 film programs this year. 2 of them are shorts programs, so that leaves 13 titles, and 5 of those 13 are Israeli films. And as I probably don't have to tell you, the Israeli film industry is very much under attack right now. Recently, there was a boycott letter published, and it's now been signed by 4,000 people in the Hollywood establishment, all vowing to boycott not only Israeli films and not only Israeli film artists, but also the institutions that support them, like the Jerusalem Film Center or film festivals. So it's a really horrible moment of censorship and boycott. And just 2 days ago, an opposing letter came out. Liev Schreiber and Mayim Bialik and a number of other people, Rebecca De Mornay, have signed, 1,200 people have signed a letter saying that it is not fair to boycott Israeli artists, and film artists shouldn't be boycotting other film artists, and why this is wrong, and trying to lend support to Israel. So it must be a very contentious time in Hollywood. I'd hate to be on a set and I have to, kiss my co-star, and this person, is free Palestine, and it's just a really terrible situation. So given that, it's really a privilege for us to continue to showcase the best in Israeli cinema, as we've always done, to show different aspects of Israeli life and the Israeli experience. And it's more important now than ever. Our mission is just really critical at this moment in time. We attempt to put a human face on Israel and provide context for the political situation without dealing with the politics directly. And really kind of try to look beyond the conflict because there's so much more to Israel than that. So I've already talked about The Ring, which is both a family film, a Holocaust film, and an Israeli film. Uh, the other thing that I think is on everyone's mind, 2 years after the October 7th massacre, we are still dealing with the repercussions, and we are certainly all looking for some kind of healing or a way to move forward. So I selected the film of Dogs and Men because it is a lovely film that takes a much gentler approach. I think we've all seen now images of the carnage and the horrific images, and I don't think we need to see those again at this point. So this film is about a girl, a teenager, who goes looking for her lost dog just a few weeks after the massacre at her kibbutz. And the people she encounters are the actual survivors. So it isn't a documentary in the sense that, the young girl is played by an actress, but it is a documentary in the sense that she's in the actual location talking to the actual people and getting a sense of the story. So it's a hybrid documentary feature film, and I think it takes a much gentler approach to the subject than other films, and I thought it was really an important film to show. So that's our October 7th film. Technion 10 squared, because Technion celebrated its 100th anniversary, I also thought was really important to show because you might wonder, how did Israel become the startup nation? I mean, Israel has a huge number of accomplishments and successes in technology and science and financially. And how did that happen? Well, a lot of the credit has to go to the Technion, which was founded 100 years ago. At that point, it was out in the far-flung corner of the British Empire in the British Mandate. And because of its creation, a whole generation was educated and became part of Israeli society and part of the building of that nation. And that's really a big part of how modern Israel came to be. So I thought it was an important piece of history. We also are very privileged that there's a man in Boulder, an Israeli man in Boulder, who is on the faculty of the Technion, who is here for a year working on a sort of sabbatical, and he'll be with us to talk about his experiences at the Technion and its importance to Israel. So we hope you'll join us for Technion at 100, basically. Bliss, I will have to tell you, people keep asking me, just between us, what movie do I have to see? What are the movies that you really, really recommend? As though I don't love like, what's your favorite child? Who's your favorite child? It's like I love all the films because I program them, but I do have a very fond spot in my heart for Bliss, because if you're just looking for a really good movie, Bliss is just a good movie. It's kind of hard to describe because the plot, it's not really about the plot so much. It's a love story. It's set in the Galilee among the Mizrahi population of Jews who were forced to flee Muslim lands where they'd lived for, centuries. And so it's a nice slice of life in Israel. It's a very warm and affectionate film, but it is also fueled by pain and struggle. And it's a couple that is under a lot of pressure, and they're trying to kind of maintain their grace under that pressure. So it is really a beautiful film. It was nominated for a number of Israeli Oscars. It won at the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival. It won not only the Audience Award, but the Critics Award. So it was the best received film and that's unusual for the film to win, the same film to win both awards. So it is an award-winning, very enjoyable, but really just a great film that I think has real lasting power. So I do hope you'll join us for bliss. I do think it's really one of the best films in the festival. And I'm now going to play the trailer for Tatami because that's the last film of the Israeli films that I'm going to talk about. So as soon as Nancy's ready, we'll watch Tatami and then we'll talk about that.
My name is Leila Hosseini.
Mama. Oh, salam, Mama Jun.
I have to make the most important decision of my life today.
Ha!
دستور اومده از ادامه مسابقات انصراف بدی. دستور مستقیم از دفتر رهبری بود. کوتاه نمیام.
منم کوتاه نمیام.
پس ببینیم بچه.
I live in a country whose laws do not allow me to compete freely.
میدونی که دیگه هیچ وقت نمیتونیم برگردیم ایران.
I'd rather risk everything.
کردن بابا.
And fight for freedom and dignity.
همین دنیا دارن نگاه میکنن لیلا.
Tatami is a very powerful film. It's also a very important film. It is the first film to be co-directed by an Iranian filmmaker and an Israeli filmmaker. The actress who plays the coach and who won the Cannes Award for Holy Spider as an actress is the co-director. And the Israeli filmmaker, who is an Academy Award-winning filmmaker in Israel, they worked together on this very, very powerful story, which, as you see, is filmed in black and white, and the cinematography is just stunning. It is also a political thriller as well as a great sports movie. So it has, a huge amount of entertainment value, but it is also very, very pertinent story that is based on an actual incident of a number of years ago that took place at a judo contest. So this one takes place at the World Judo Championships and has a female protagonist, but it is rooted in some very real history and deals with anti-Semitism in sports and a lot of the issues that are problematic today in the sports world. So I highly recommend Tatami. It is showing twice because because I'm encouraging everybody to go see it, and because I think it is such a worthy and important film. And again, it's not an uplifting film by any means. It's a dark film, but it is a really good genre film. I mean, it is really a good, suspenseful, exciting thriller about a heroine who is faced with a very, very difficult choice. And we love stories about heroes. So I hope you'll join us for Tatami. The last thing I want to talk about before I let you go is there is a theme in a lot of our films this year, which I don't always know as I'm programming, but I kind of see as I look back and I see the films that I have on my schedule, and I see a theme of personal responsibility. And a couple of our films are really about the evasion of personal responsibility, the denial of personal responsibility. Um, those two films are Riefenstahl, which is the documentary about Leni Riefenstahl, who filmed Hitler's Olympics and Triumph of the Will, and was really Hitler's darling in cinematography, and used her talent to support the Nazi aesthetic. And the aesthetic was related to the ideology. And she sort of later claimed she was just an artist, and that she didn't know, and she wasn't really a Nazi, and she's really went on to have quite a lucrative career, despite the fact that she was really hiding her past and her association with Hitler. In recent years, files have become available that the filmmakers were able to go through that create quite a damning case against her. And it's a story about propaganda and about the use of art for evil, and how art can easily be used, as well as it's also being a story about personal responsibility and opportunism. And it's quite a chilling and a pertinent film, I think. The other film that's related to it, and I didn't deliberately choose to pick two films about unrepentant Nazis, but I did pick two films about unrepentant Nazis. The other one is called The Plunderer, The Life and Times of a Nazi Art Thief. And it's also a documentary, and the historian who is the investigative journalist of the story and the protagonist is brilliant and very articulate, and he's wonderful. And he encounters Bruno Lozzi, who was Loza, who was Goering's art agent during the Holocaust. And as many of you know, the Holocaust was not just the destruction of the Jewish people and the annihilation of 6 million Jews. It was also the greatest theft in human history. And it was a big purpose of the Holocaust was to rob Jews of their wealth, their financial wealth, their property, and their art, because Jews had a lot of art. And Hitler, being a failed artist himself, had an appreciation for art. He understood the power of art, hence Riefenstahl. And he was not only a collector, but Goering and many of the other Nazis enriched themselves by with Nazi looted art. And Loza was the man who helped make that happen on a large scale. And shockingly, he went basically unpunished, and shockingly went on to continue to profit off the blood of Jews for decades. And this is the story that our historian hero unearths and follows. And it continues to this day. I will tell you, every week I see another story come across my feed about some looted art that is being sent back to the original owners, or not being sent, or disputes over ownership on art. And so the art world is really still very much plagued by this problem, and is not, it's a pretty shameful chapter of the art world's history, and it continues to this day. So I think The Plunderer was just something that I was so mesmerized by. I really wanted to share it with you, and I think it's really an excellent documentary. On the flip side of the coin of personal responsibility, we are showing some films about individuals who use their sense of responsibility for good. And Charles Grodin was one of those people. What I love about the Charles Grodin documentary we're showing, Rebel with a Cause, is that he is so funny. He is a hilarious comedian. He cracks me up. His deadpan humor just cracks me up. So it's a funny documentary because it focuses on a very funny person. But later in his life, he turned his celebrity to use in freeing wrongfully convicted prisoners. And he was quite active in that and quite successful. And it sort of shows the side of fame in which people use their fame for good, or who feel like tzedakah and tikkun olam are important Jewish values that they act on. And so it's a very, very wonderful documentary, because it isn't just a showbiz bio of a funny guy. It's really about a mensch, and it's very moving at the same time that it's very funny. Art Spiegelman is another artist who was very influential in the entertainment world, specifically in literature. Mouse remains a very hot topic book. It was the first graphic novel to win a Pulitzer Prize. And the personality of Art Spiegel, who is a pretty kind of cranky old guy, but very funny also. He was brought up in a Holocaust survivor family. He was very much inspired by Mad Magazine and the kind of irreverent satire. And he brought a lot of legitimacy to the comic book and the graphic novel art form, which had been, considered sort of a lesser literary form, or for children, and kind of dismissed. So he did a lot for gaining credibility for the comic art form. And we're very happy that Jim Vaca, who lives in Boulder and used to teach at Boulder High, he's a retired teacher, is a comic book aficionado and expert. And in fact, his wife lived on the same street as Art Spiegelman, and her parents knew his, Anyway, so there's a strong personal connection, and he knows a lot about Spiegelman and his work. So he'll be joining us for the talk back after Art Spiegelman, Disaster is My Muse, on our closing Sunday at noon. So we hope you can join us for that. Brian Epstein, as I mentioned at the very beginning of our program, in Midas Man is the fifth Beatle, and it really is his vision, his personality. He was an entrepreneur, a Jewish entrepreneur that saw something in the Beatles and knew how to make that marketable, and knew how to turn that into something that really allowed the Fab Four to rise to, huge fame. And he wasn't limited to the Beatles. He actually managed other people as well. And the whole British invasion, he was very much a creative force behind that. He was also a kind of a tortured soul, being a gay man in a time when that was not as acceptable, and his family was a wealthy, disapproving Jewish family. And so he was also a little bit of a tortured soul. So it's a really wonderful drama with an all-star cast. It's a British biodrama with a really great cast: Emily Watson and Jacob Lloyd Fortune, who is Jewish. He isn't a Jewish actor in England. He was in Queen's Gambit. So it's a really, again, a very commercial film. It was very popular in England, and that's why we have the Beatles music in our opening. So he's, again, somebody who was really a positive force in the culture. And I would also say that there are two other films that I'll kind of close with that I think are also about personal responsibility and taking personal responsibility. As I already mentioned to Tommy, is very much about a woman who has to decide, whether she's going to be on the side of good or evil, and what risks she's willing to take to do the right thing, and to be a force for good in the world, and at great personal risk and cost. And she does take that responsibility, and is a very admirable heroine, in my opinion. But there's also the other film that is also a thriller, which is Guns and Moses. And it's, again, a story of responsibility, where a rabbi whose congregation's been under attack has to decide what he's going to do to defend his community. And he becomes an action hero. And the thing I will say about Guns and Moses is I don't want people to be scared off. It's not the Poe showed. It's not a triggering film. It's not a film that you'll say, oh my God, I can't watch that. there is a lot of diversity of opinion over gun ownership, and that is a controversial topic. But we have armed guards at all our events. I mean, we take our security and self-defense very seriously, as we have to, and it's a pressing issue in the Jewish community. But the film is really a thriller, an action thriller that conforms to all the conventions of that genre. It's very suspenseful and entertaining and over the top. There's the shoot 'em outs at the end, but it takes a direction you really don't expect. And it's just a really well-made, entertaining film. And I have to point out that almost every Western and most action films are about some peace-loving figure, sometimes even a man of the cloth, who is forced into the position of having to protect the innocent, protect the community, fight against the forces of evil, fight against the bad gang. And it's, the guys in the white hats and the guys in the black hats. The only difference is the guy in the black hat in this case, the Hasidic rabbi, is the good guy. And he has to fight against forces conspiring against him that are not the forces you might think they are. So I really highly recommend Guns N' Moses. It's a very commercial film. Christopher Lloyd is in it, Mark Feuerstein. This is this is not a festival film of obscure, obscure kind of just for Jewish audience kind of story. It's a very familiar action Western story that just happens to have a rabbi as its hero, and therefore it's pretty interesting. So again, we have films that are about the power of art for good and evil, and the power of human responsibility, the factors of human accountability and human choices that we all make that will lead us to some very interesting conversations, I'm sure. And I'm looking forward to talk to you about all these movies and hear your thoughts. And please do try to go online on Sunday, if not Monday, and buy your tickets. And don't hesitate to reach out to me at bjff@boulderjcc.org if you have any questions or thoughts, or if you want to be in our committee next year. So I look forward to seeing you at the 13th Annual Boulder Jewish Film Festival. Should you want to sponsor the festival, we are always looking for more sponsors. That is the way the festival is made possible, and we look forward to seeing you. So thank you for letting me spend some time with you to share some insight into the films, and we'll see you at the festival. Thank you.